Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Challenge Explained for Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. So in this video we are going to go through the Ultimate Challenge and explain each component that the challenge consists of. Also, at the time of this recording, there is a physical prize if you are one of the first 50 people to complete this challenge. The prize is actually a badge stating that you have completed the challenge. So there is some incentive for going through the pain and suffering that you will experience in this challenge. Before we get started, I do want to point out some caveats if you are attempting to complete the Ultimate Challenge. And that is, first you need to prove that you did complete it by recording the full playthrough of the game. And so just some thoughts that came to mind that I wanted to point out is I would safely assume a few things. First, I would suggest that you do not edit any of your videos. They are just raw videos, and because of that, I would also recommend that you disable the mic during those video run-throughs, because if you have the mic going, it could be a distraction and it could cause you to waste time explaining what's going on during the game. So I would just recommend disabling it and don't say anything. You do also need to produce the save file of the completed game, which should be easy to do if you have completed it. On Windows, you just have to go to your user folder and open up the saved game folder within that one. And then you'll see the Pillars of Eternity 2 folder. So under that folder, you'll see a lot of .save game files where you can pick the one that's named after the character that you created when you started the challenge. This also brings up the point of no save scumming, which is a term that they used, which refers to reloading a game constantly to get a favorable outcome. So this is why the video evidence is required, because someone may make a backup of their save files and replace the file with the backup if they die. So this is a form of cheating, and it will disqualify you from the challenge if you do it. So those are the rules of the challenge for the badge. Let's get into starting the challenge. I first wanted to point out that you do need all of the expansions, such as the Beast of Winter, Seeker Slayer, Survivor, and you also need the Forgotten Sanctum, and they will all be highlighted below if you do have those enabled and installed. Alright, so in order to start the challenge, you need to click on the face here, which is at the bottom of the menu. This will take you to the Migrant's Fire screen, which is like Barrett's Blessings, only the opposite. So instead of beneficial effects, you actually get handicaps and challenges that you must overcome through the playthrough. So there are several different cards here, and there are also two modes, I would say. You have the Triple Crown, which is what most people would enable if they were doing Path of the Damned. It does level scaling upwards, and it also does Expert Mode and Trial of Iron. So it's a quick way to enable all of the hard modes for the game. Also Solo Mode, which prevents you from recruiting companions. So no one can help you in this playthrough, which these two things on their own are not too bad. I would say these are probably the two easiest things to do, and this is closest to a normal gameplay. One thing I do want to point out is that each one of these is challenges, and then the very last one you have is the Ultimate. So you click on the Ultimate, and it enables everything, including Triple Crown and Solo. So just clicking the last card will give you everything enabled, and this is the challenge that you're going for in order to complete the game. So with that, we get all of the God challenges, which on their own are not too difficult, but when you combine them together, it does present a nearly impossible challenge. And I'll explain more about why it's nearly impossible and what some of the pitfalls you can run into when you face some of these challenges. So let's start with Aothis' challenge. So it is essentially to complete the critical path quests by specific dates or the game ends. So you have a time limit in order to actually complete each act, and the time limits are pretty strict, but I'm not sure if they actually changed with this update, which makes you have to think about what you're going to do next. And like I said, on its own, it's not too bad. They have enough time to actually complete the game. But once you start getting into some of the boss fights and some of the expansions, those are very time consuming And it really forces you to think about where you need to go and what you need to do in order to complete those quests. Okay, so the next thing is Galowin's challenge. Beasts gain random powerful effects. Kind of self-explanatory. This is particularly for beasts, and so you don't have to worry about, random vessels, which are kind of the biggest pains, gaining random powerful effects, just specifically beasts. So not too difficult. The next one is going to be Bareth's challenge. So any party member knocked out for 10 seconds or 3 rounds is killed, and you cannot flee from combat. Not a problem because you are playing this solo, you don't have any party members. And if you are knocked out, you're pretty much dead. So no issue there. The next card is going to be Magrin's challenge. It says the game cannot be paused, and in turn-based mode, party turns pass automatically after so many seconds. So this challenge isn't too bad. You're not managing multiple party members, it's just you by yourself. So you don't have to actually deal with AI or trying to figure out who's going to be doing what or which buffs need to go up on which groups. So it's going to be just you by yourself. The only thing you have to worry about really is just making sure you're not interrupted during your game with real life problems. So if you plan right, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for this challenge. Abaddon's challenge is the next one. Equipment will degrade over time, and it must be repaired via the enchanting interface. So this introduces a mechanic of repairing your equipment. This can become a problem if you don't keep in mind that you have to repair your equipment. And also it does become a problem too because all your equipment degrades, not just what you have equipped. So you have to keep everything repaired and make sure you have it planned out when you're in town, that you pick up the necessary supplies to repair it. And also in the Trial of Iron, I did remember that it actually did break your equipment permanently if you did not repair them before they actually lost all durability. And up next is going to be Skayan's challenge. What this does is this creates a fog of war where only a certain range within your character can you actually see, and it gets smaller at night and indoors. And also if you hold a light source, it increases the distance that you can see. This is one of those challenges that is not that difficult at all. If you do have a problem with seeing certain things, you can pick up a torch, which is available at most vendors, or you can find them in chests anywhere. There may also be some items that produce light. I know Jote's lantern does, but since you're in solo mode, you don't have access to that item. So up next is going to be Andra's challenge, and it says storms in the Deadfire are numerous and more dangerous, as well as ships in the Deadfire are more experienced and sail faster in pursuit. And this actually killed me the first time I made it off of Port Mage. I did encounter a vessel that was much higher than I was, and it wound up actually destroying my ship in combat, which was not very fun. And because none of the other challenges require you to do bounties, I would actually recommend just avoiding ship combat in general. You don't have to fight the bounties. It actually is a waste of time to do the bounties when you're trying to complete the challenge for Aothis. This could be avoided if you're just really careful, and I would recommend speed upgrades on your ship as soon as possible to potentially outrun some of these higher level ships that would kill you. And the next one's going to be Rimagran's challenge, and it says that food items spoil after a certain amount of time. So this challenge is more of a nuisance than anything. You do have to just make sure you have enough food items on you at all times because of other challenges. But the biggest thing to this is that if you do find specific items, like specific foods, you don't want to keep them too long. You either want to sell them or you actually want to eat them and consume them when you can. And up next is Hylia's challenge. So it says that Vela follows the Watcher and must be kept alive or the game ends. So this is probably the one thing that makes this entire ultimate challenge hard to complete, because while Vela is usually pretty good with normal mobs and she's usually good at avoiding the fights by running and hiding, she does encounter some areas where she does get stuck, and specifically mega bosses which do a lot of AoE damage. She could potentially cause issues where other mobs from the mega boss fights could find her and kill her without you even knowing, or with you being distracted and surrounded yourself. So I think this, combined with some of the mega boss fights, makes this challenge incredibly tough to do and almost nearly impossible. And one more thing about this is that this also causes you to not be able to stealth around in specific areas, which kind of eliminates the whole stealth ability. So I would recommend not going the stealth route at all and avoiding putting points into that, because the mobs will spot her while you are stealthing yourself. So there are some things that you could do to help you out especially later on. You can get scrolls of withdrawal that will help you keep her from being killed, and also help her drop aggro if she is aggroed. And maybe if you can find some scrolls of the Beetle Shell ability, which is the druid spell, that also will cause her to not take damage. The next challenge is Wodaka's challenge, and it says per encounter resources become per rest resources, and then party health no longer regenerates between combat, and while camping, only prepared meals will recover health, injuries, and resources. So this is another very painful and time-consuming challenge, and with the challenge from Aothis, it makes this challenge even harder because you can't rest every single time you battle, or you will waste a lot of time, and you'll wind up losing the game because the Aothis challenge timer will run out. So you have to be very selective on what spells you use, and this also causes some of the classes to become less effective as other classes. And the final challenge is Whale's challenge, and it says that almost all numbers and stats are hidden, with the exception being item count, party character attributes, skills, and the level. So if you are familiar with playing with some of the other modes, this just adds another layer on top of that. So you actually can't see how much damage you're doing, you can't see how much health you have, or the health of your enemies, or the friendly characters around you. You actually can't see the health of Vela from the Hylia's challenge, which makes it really hard. All you see is the status, like are they near death, are they bloodied, which makes this much more painful of a challenge to go through, especially with all the other challenges on top of it, which I guess is the theme of the Ultimate Challenge. And so here we are at the Ultimate Challenge. So when you do start the Ultimate Challenge, you do get another level of quests added on to your starting quests. There are a lot of quests which I would consider goals because they do lead to major quest lines in order to complete them. I'm sure there are a few different builds that would actually be more beneficial than another build, but I would definitely recommend looking towards at least one of your classes containing regenerating resources so that if you do encounter some of the issues with Wodaka's challenge, you can get around that with the regenerating resources. Another thing I wanted to mention was also be sure not to spread yourself too thin on the skills. There's some skills that are going to be pointless, and some of them are going to be actually very useful in this particular type of challenge, especially as a solo character. I'd recommend some points in Arcana because you will need some scrolls to get through some of the encounters, and I would also recommend Alchemy because you can also do the same thing and get buffs through potions that will help you in a similar capacity. Next thing you can do is you can change your game mode. You can select whether you want to do turn-based or real-time. I have no recommendation on either one of them. It depends on how you want to play and which character styles you prefer. One thing I could say that you can get an advantage with is with turn-based modes, you do get a little bit more of a break and pause to think about what you're going to be casting and how to deal with specific mobs in general. But you also can turn down the speed in real time, and there is no pausing in real time, so you're not going to be able to pause the game due to Mogren's challenge. So once you've selected your game mode, you can go to the next screen. There isn't much you can do here. You can't change anything. You can't change Barrett's blessings, or you can't change the different kind of modes that you would be able to change if you didn't select the Ultimate Challenge. So all you can do is start the game with the Ultimate Challenge enabled. So that's going to be it for this episode. If you are attempting this challenge, let me know in the comments below. And if you did like this video and you want to see more like it, click the thumbs up button. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.